Hello everyone, I am Thezabee, and welcome to the Generation 4 Randomized Nuzlocke for the Generations Nuzlocke. Today we'll be diving into Sinnoh to complete Generation 4 of my Generations Nuzlocke. We've already done Generations 1, 2, and 3. All those are down below in the description. And of course, with that, we all have the Nuzlocke rules already memorized. If not, again, everything will be down in the description. Quick rundown, 1 Pokemon per route. If it faints, it gets sent to the box forever in shame. And of course, no items in battle and everything is in set mode, so that way I don't have the upper hand in switching into a Pokemon. And again, everything is randomized. We have our selection of 3 starters from Professor Rowan in Furret, Chinchou, and Shinx. I choose Chinchou for the water and electric coverage, and we get into our first battle with Barry. Or, well, not Barry in this one, he's actually named Nolan, but he's our Barry surrogate. Nolan sends out his first of many randomized Pokemon in Beedrill. Shouldn't be that hard. Unfortunately, Bubble Burst's Fury Attack isn't what it is meant to be, and Nolan picks up the first victory. After a quick rest at home, Nolan wants me to take him to the lakefront to see his mythical Pokemon, and we end up meeting the main antagonist of the story, Cyrus, the 27-year-old with a complex for space and time. Heading to Sand Gem Town, I finally get to name my starter and have the enjoyment of picking a theme for the Nuzlocke Pokemon names. Leave a comment below if you can guess what the theme was. We head north to find Lucas in the grass, patiently waiting for us to ensure that we say goodbye to our mom. And so we do, not do that right now, but instead spend all of our money on Pokeballs to catch our first Pokemon. Heading into the previous route, our first Pokemon we catch is Bronzong, which we end up naming Helium. Now, after saying goodbye to our mother and finding out that Nolan is a terrible son and just leaving his mother without his map, Lucas now teaches us how to catch a Pokemon. After this, we add 2 more Pokemon to our roster, Oxygen the Vigoroth and Hydrogen the Cacnea. Stepping foot into Jubilife City, Lucas again corners us to show us around the town, and we meet the secondary protagonist, but the protagonist in his own story, the Looker. He's on a search to uncover Team Galactic. Now with the Poketech on our wrists after talking to 3 clowns, and of course returning Nolan's map to him, Nolan challenged us to our first post-beatdown. It says in the script here, Beasting Beatdown Brawl, and this is the most impossible thing to say. Nolan challenges us to our first Beasting Beatdown Brawl. I've done it, that's going to recording. Try doing that 3 times fast. We catch a Venomoth and name it Lithium, but then we run into something that you see quite a lot in these types of randomizers. A random youngster with the legendary Uber Pokemon, such as Groudon. Luckily, without any fire type moves, Hydrogen is able to take it down by sucking out its life force. Third city in this generation where they decide that I am incapable of finding anything on my own, and we find Nolan talking to himself in the windows of the gym since Rorik is doing his best CM Punk impression in the mines. But before we face him, we catch a Burmy naming it Beryllium, and we also fail to catch a Blissey, but then we snag a Sinnoh starter in Empoleon who we name Boron. And now it's time for our first gym leader, Rorik. Now, of course, normally in the main games, Rorik here only has Rock-type Pokemon, and it's very easy to defeat. But of course, we're playing randomizers, so his first Pokemon is a Wynaut, which is one of those Pokemon you don't want to see in randomizers, especially in Nuzlocke, because it could have Counter and it could have Mirror Coat. Also, this thing has Shadow Tag on it, which means that I cannot switch out my Pokemon. Oxygen, of course, sends out first Leech Seed just so I can get some healing off, and then we spam Absorb. After a few absorbs, the Why Not has been taken down. Rorik then sends out Raikou. Of course, another legendary Pokemon and a gym leader. That's the first gym leader. I switch out the Helium, put him to sleep, and try to knock him down with a couple confusions. Helium is able to take down Raikou with a couple more confusions after he wakes up from his hypnosis. And then Rorik sends out a Deoxys. I switch out on Deoxys and bring in Boron to at least see if I can do some physical damage on it. I do 2 Swords Dances, and I hit him with a Tackle, and that's it. Deoxys goes down with an Oko, netting us our first badge for the Sinnoh region. Returning back to Jubilife City, we are greeted with Professor Rowan teaching these 2 grunts how to count when they challenge Lucas and I to a battle. I send out Boron, and Lucas sends out an Igglybuff to take down a Dragonair and Pupitar. 2 middle stage pseudo legendary Pokemon, and I have an Igglybuff. So what do I get as a reward for beating down these bowl haircut grunts? A fashion case. How pretty. We fail our next 2 encounters, of course, with Latios and Kyogre. And no, I didn't even try catching Kyogre. Heading on to the Valley Windworks, this little girl is trying to tell us that Team Galactic is hiding in the Valley Windworks, and something about her father is in there too, but I'm just sitting here trying to warn her about the Drift Bloom that's normally hanging out in the front. Because if you don't know about Drift Bloom, they steal kids. We catch a trio, name it Carbon, in front of the Valley Windworks, but run into the grunt that's guarding the front entrance, and he's got a Registeel. After stalling it long enough to ensure that I don't get exploded to bits within our first few hours of the run, I finally take him down with Helium. After a quick double battle, we are able to get a key from a man who enjoys putting honey on things a little bit too much. I enter the Valley Windworks and am greeted with a Giratina. I'm early levels here, and they're already throwing a Giratina at me. So once Giratina is thrown back to the Shadow Realm, it's on to... Oh wait, that wasn't the Mars fight? That was just a grunt? Okay, alright, on to the Mars fight. Mars sends out Crawdaunt first, and I send out Oxygen as the second strongest Pokemon in the party. Crawdaunt goes down after a few super effective rock smashes. Mars sends out Pachirisu up next, in spot of Mars' Purugly that's usually there. And after a Spark crits and paralyzes Oxygen, I'm forced to switch out. In hindsight, I should have switched out the Carbon due to Pachirisu mainly using electric type moves, but hindsight's 2020, right? Hydrogen comes out and attempts to poison this little Pikachu clone, but we end up taking it out just upon a few absorbs. And that's it for the first Mars fight. After catching a Wurmple we named Nitrogen, we're on our way to Eterna Forest, and I suffered the first death in a Nuzlocke. Carbon rolls a low magnitude 4, failing to KO Meganium, who retaliates with a Razor Leaf, sending him to the box, never to be seen again. Except later when I use him for an HM1 Pokemon. Now that Cheryl is free from the labyrinth of psychics and bug catchers of Eterna Forest, I can finally catch an Oddish for my troubles. She gets named Florine, and I'm Florined by my luck. Gardena is the next gym leader holding the second badge. She sends out one of the weakest Pokemon in Unknown, only knowing the move Hidden Power. But this Hidden Power for this Unknown has a fighting subtype, which means it's super effective against Oxygen, dealing 46 damage. If you didn't know how Hidden Power works, here it is on the screen. And yeah, that's the reason why Oxygen just took 46 damage. I switch out to Nitrogen to counter the fighting type Hidden Power, and its next Hidden Power doesn't do any damage. After Gardena uses Super Potion, Nitrogen is able to bring down Unknown with some Gust and Poison Sting spam. Unfortunately, the next Pokemon that Gardena sends out is even worse, in a Wailord. I know the only way I can take down this Wailord is by poisoning it with Poison Sting and hopefully being able to stall it out if it doesn't know anything crazy. After a poison sting poisons Wailord, she attempts to use rollout to take down Nitrogen. Luckily though, I have Protect and it's able to reset the rollouts, and Moonlight is able to heal Nitrogen. Wailord is finally able to be brought down after a gust, and Gardena sends out Metachamp. I Protect with Nitrogen to see if I can draw out a high jump kit, but it uses Feint instead, hitting through Protect and killing Nitrogen. That brings the death counter up to 2. Eek. I send out Helium, who takes down Metachamp after a few extra sensories, winning us a second badge for Sinnoh. That's 2 badges now, and 2 deaths for this run. With Gardena out of the way, I finally meet our love interest in the Sinnoh story. I mean champion. Champion of the Sinnoh region, Cynthia, who grants me the ability to cut. Before heading into Galactic HQ, thanks to Cynthia, I catch Neon the Jolteon and Sodium the Hippowdon. Oh, and look who's here. It's Looker, who decides to ambush us and take off his outfit in front of the receptionist that he's in disguise. This man is not a good detective or investigator or whatever he is. Anyway, we find Jupiter and give them a swift beatdown. Oh look, there's another random battle on your screen. You know what that means, right? I hope you all know what that means. Yep. Hydrogen died. Then a few moments later, Boron died. This route was not very happy to me. But there's good news and there's bad news. I found a Chimchar and I named it Aluminum. Bet you're thinking about the bad news is, right? It's a King's English Chimchar. So I take Aluminium and add him to Team Beatdown. Fantina the Beauty Queen is up next, and under that dress hides multiple dangerous Pokemon for Team Beatdown. Mesprit comes out first against our newly added Aluminium, and I have to switch out immediately due to its new secondary fighting typing. I bring out Sodium to set up some chip damage on Mesprit with Sandstorm. Due to Mesprit using Protect countering my bite attempt, I use Yawn to put the Lake Demon to sleep and continue with the onslaught of super effective bites. Latias is up next and sets up a safeguard to counteract my Yawn attempts. After a few rock slides for minimal damage to Latias, she's back up to full health with a Wish and a Super Potion from Fantina. I switch over to Bite once again for super effective damage, but Sodium gets brought down to 5 HP, forcing me to switch out. I switch out to Oxygen, but he doesn't eat a Dragon Breath very well, so I click on Fury Swipes and hope for the best. Fury Swipes hits for 5 times, bringing down the Jet Pokemon, leaving one last Pokemon in Fantina's lineup. A Cascoon. Needless to say, the third badge was mine after a quick switch of Uranium. Once defeating Fantina, I catch Sodium the Duo and hatch my new egg that my girlfriend just gave me. Not girlfriend. No, she is the Sinnoh champion Cynthia. The Sinnoh champion Cynthia gave me this egg. I hatch him into Octillery, which we named Phosphorus. Oh, and look who's just waiting here to ruin my fun after a post-gym leader high, but Nolan. Delibird is his first Pokemon and immediately goes down to 1 Rock Slide from Sodium. Nolan sends out our second Giratina for the run and begins to slam Sodium with a whole bunch of Dragon Breaths. Sodium holds strong by chomping onto the Spectral Centipede, even getting a flinch, ensuring we don't have to see him back here again for at least another 10 hours. Gible is sent to replace Giratina, so I switch out to Uranium, delivering a hard-hitting Water Pulse. The Water Pulse confuses Gible, causing it to hurt himself in confusion, and Water Gun then brings down the tiny Land Shark Boy. Nolan's final Pokemon is a Magneton, which we end up taking down with Aluminium and his Ember attack, netting us another win for Team Beatdown. 4 more routes and areas separating me from slaughtering another gym leader, so I catch Sulfur the Linoon, the Poliwag, King of Men, Argon, the Grangar, and Potassium the Farfetch'd. The Cobble badge is next, with Maylene sending out Omanyte against Sodium. After Omanyte shoots off a Lyrian Glare my way on Uranium's switch-in, Water Pulse does a good amount of damage, but I eat a super effective Mud Shot from my Electric Fish. After Omnite attempts to use rollout to build some damage from outspeeding, Uranium's water pulse hits for neutral damage, taking down Omnite. Jigglypuff is out next, so I swap over to Oxygen, and he takes a body slam for about a third of damage. A slash from Oxygen takes Jigglypuff to just below half health, but another body slam unfortunately paralyzes Oxygen. I'm forced to switch out again. Aluminium gets a switch in and takes another body slam that doesn't luckily paralyze. I have Aluminium use Flame Charge to outspeed and knock out the pink singing Kirby. Maylene sends out Swellow as her last Pokemon, so I go out to Sodium, which sets up the Sandstorm. Sodium eats a non-effective wing attack, but I end the match using Rock Slide for super effective damage and a little help from Sandstorm. And with that, the Cobble badge is now mine. That's 4 badges down in the Sinnoh region. Soaring over some weird warehouse where nothing suspicious is happening at all, the looker meets up with me to tell me, well, to look over here and find HM2 Fly. Heading due south, I fail to catch a Murkrow and a Mightyena, but I pick up a stone cold thug in Wish Cash and named him Calcium. But then, lurking there in the shadows of the Safari Zone, there was the ultimate surprise. A Garchomp, which we name Unintanium. So now we have Garchomp the Unintanium on my team. There is no way I was ever going to let him die tragically due to a random accident where I had all total control in preventing anything from happening to him. After stomping Nolan to the ground in front of Crasher Wake, I set my eyes on the chunky burly wrestling man. The masked muscle man holding on to the Fen badge reveals a Shieldon as his first Pokemon. So I switch out from Aluminium to Uranium as Shieldon attempts to use a Swagger to confuse Uranium on the switch. Luckily it misses, allowing Uranium to use Bubble Beam for the Oko. Weasel's out next. Oh wait, no it's not. It's dead due to Spark. Oh, darn it, he's one of my favorite Pokemon in this region. Third out for Crasher Wake is one of the thinnest Pokemon, Bellsprout. Not wanting to take any super effective hits or any spore-like attacks such as Poison Powder, Stun Spore, or Sleep Powder, I switch out to Aluminium, who takes down Bellsprout with Oko using Flame Wheel. Boy, this team is doing really well. Team Beatdown will last forever. Nothing absolutely critical will ever happen to this team, and this team will stay strong for the rest of the game. Crasher Wake investigates Safari Zone after seeing some sketchy Galactic grunts when they activate an actual bomb. This is terrorism. Written all over it. After chasing down the Galactic grunt who set up the device, my favorite explosive device, Cynthia, Sinnoh champion Cynthia, is back to give me some medicine to rub on my, it's for some Psyduck. It's for some Psyducks. Just to cure their hangovers from berry juice. This, of course, takes us to Celestic Town, where I crush Cyrus, and Cynthia, of course, gives me another history lesson. On the way to Byron, I catch an Exploud named Scanium, Titanium the Talo, and Vanadium the Huntail. Keep in mind, I also did mess up a little bit here by throwing a Master Ball I found at a Metagross. Unfortunately, due to the rules, I couldn't have it because it was still on the same route as I caught another Pokemon. Barry again stands between me and another gym leader as it's cinematic on a bridge. I guess that you can call this fight a bridge that gaps between two awkward segues into gym leader. Byron is up next with 3 Pokemon in his squad. His first Pokemon is a Haunter up against my newly caught Titanium. Titanium uses Fly to avoid Haunter's first attack, but comes down nearly barely even missing the Oko and taking a weak payback after landing. Byron heals up Haunter with a Hyper Potion and a wing attack barely hits for over half damage. On his next turn, Byron opts to switch out Hunter for Steelix. This is not good for Titanium. I bring out Uranium on the turn that Steelix decided his rocks need to be polished a little bit more, and a super effective surf takes down a newly polished steel snake without a problem. Shaman is out next, but thinking it's going to be weak to electric moves, I use Spark and it barely does anything. After Leech Seed is hit also on that same turn, I now have a ticking clock on me with Leech Seed. I switch out for Aluminium, who comes in on a magical leaf that barely does any damage to it being not effective due to its fire typing. And after we trade some quick attacks and some flame wheels, Aluminium takes down the mythical Pokemon, and that's... Oh wait. I completely forgot about Haunter. With Aluminium in a bad spot and not wanting to take any risks with any crits, remember kids, always play around the crit, I send out Unobtainium that gets hit with a Shadow Ball and lands for about a third of damage. But one Dragon Claw from its sharp claws and Unobtainium cleans up with a victory. And now the mine badge is, well, mine. Another explosion not caused by Cynthia and I has gone off. This time we are to investigate the carp scenes. But first, a little route encounter montage to show you that nothing wrong whatsoever is about to happen to any of my Pokemon. So I hope everyone here remembers Saturn, the one who I overlooked because I had a royal beatdown on them. And yeah, this Gallade was out for some blood. I lost both titanium and oxygen to this not waifu of an evolution. But in the wake of the bloodbath, one Pokemon is said to rise from the ashes, and that Pokemon might just be Cobalt the Porygon 2. Mars gives us no trouble with our new team of attackers, so here, another montage. She who shall not be named Candace is up now, and she holds a team of 4. She sends out Tangela in attempts to halt Team Beatdown's progress in obtaining all the badges. Cobalt pierces Tangela's Talanges with a signal beam for the Oko. Pinsir is out next, and it takes Psybeam from Cobalt a little too well after Pinsir boosts her attack by 2 stages with the Sword Stance. Now after a stab, X Scissors brings Cobalt all the way down to 7 health. Signal Beam shoots across the field and takes down this mandible menace. Skarmory is out next for Candace, and I feel like I've already done pretty poor for this fight after sending out Aluminium. Aluminium hits Skarmory for a few flame wheels, even a burn on it, but Skarmory takes Aluminium all the way down to 18 health. I bring out Uranium to take Aluminium's place, and he sweeps the rest of Candace's team with the electric move Discharge. And now with Candace being taken down, that's 7 badges in the Sinnoh region that we have collected. We have another encounter with the Mightyena after watching Nolan be put in his place, and this time we catch her and name her Germanium? This is an element? Where was this element found? In Germany? Anyways, inside Veilstone Team Galactic headquarters, we have a sweet moment with the Looker. Looking. In all open, with at least 10 of these grunts able to see us staring. Once defeating Saturn and setting the Lake Trio free from their display cases, I use one of the 50 fossils we found throughout our journey and make our way up to Mount Cornet. Me and Nolan team up to beat... Wait. Is that a Caterpie? Our first tag team had an Igglybuff, and now we have a Caterpie. Great. With a tiny sliver of a bit of help from the son of the best trainer in Sinnoh, we take down Mars and Jupiter and watch Cyrus open a hole into the Shadow Realm. I mean, another dimension. After having a little bit of fun wandering around this place for the first time, it's time to face a 27-year-old angsty teenager himself. No, not Garantina, but Cyrus. And you know what? Just to give you the moment that I had with this battle for the first time, I'll play some music for you right now. I won't even talk over this battle. We're just going to play some good music. Wait. Hold on. Stop. Cut the amazing music of Cyrus' fight. Is that a Caterpie? As his last Pokemon? Of course. Of course, this entire Galactic operation ends on a Caterpie. Where it began with an Igglybuff, it ends with a Caterpie. From the depths of a dimension where we're flung to, a beast rises and emerges from the darkness to engulf my soul and being. Good thing I have a Master Ball. And his new name is Selenium. I guess you could say he was giving off a lot of Selena Gomez energy. Whatever that means. After reigniting Volkner's need for a good battle, he sends out his first of 4 Pokemon in Drapion. Quickly switching into Unobtainium, and with a light hit from Bug Buzz, I call for Unobtainium to shift underground and use Dig due to a super effective hit against the Purple People Eater. 2 digs and a Hyper Potion from Volkner later, and Drapion falls, but Volkner sends out his own other Garchomp. We immediately trade Dragon Claws, but mine fortunately is too strong for him to handle, and Volkner's Garchomp gets sent back to the Pokeball. I switch in Uranium on Gorbus after he dives underwater, and I throw out a not very effective Surf. Gorbus uses a Psychic, but doesn't do any damage to Uranium, and I finish it with a super effective Discharge. Volkner's last Pokemon is a Nosepass, which gets an OHKO from Surf, netting me the final badge of the Sinnoh region. We had the final fight with Nolan of the run. This is the run where everyone loses at least one of their heaviest hitters to this absolute beast of a team in their normal runs. But luckily, because I'm such good nut, he takes down Aluminium after a close combat fails to kill Groudon, and Groudon uses Earthquake to send Aluminium to the Shadow Realm with the rest of his comrades. This is such a big hit to Team Beatdown, only because Groudon's a Fire-type Pokemon, which is very hard to come by, especially here in the Sinnoh region. With Barry defeated and my team's most British leader down, I begin the Elite Four fight against Aaron. He sends out Kabutops, who does a little bit of damage with a Slash. After a Surf and Uranium, Aaron uses a full Restore to heal Kabutops, but I go for a Paralysis to slow him down. Another Surf and Slash exchange, and I get the upper hand when I outspeed with a Waterfall, taking down the Ancient Bug. Cherrim is out next, and I really wish I had a Fire type, but I go with the newly caught Bromine, who you may have seen in my last fight, but just sitting there in the party doing nothing. This overpowered waifu burns through Cherrim with Psychic, then Goldeen, then Totodile, but I switch out to Uranium on the Ponyta for a devastating waterfall, netting me the victory. Bertha sends out the slimy Grimer as her lead Pokemon. I have to switch out to Unobtainium, and before digging underground, he's hit with a quick gunk shot that doesn't do much damage. Dig hits for the Oko, and she switches out to Raticate. Hoping for a crit KO, I go for a Slash a few times, and finally take down the rat. Tauros comes out next and drops Unobtainium's attack, and I have a theory that Tauros can't hit the ghost type Argon. Argon gets sent out, but unfortunately gets hit with Zen Headbutt. Apparently, this Tauros is one with itself. Uranium comes out for Argon and gets swaggered, raising his attack, but also confusing him. A discharge hits their confusion and leaves Tauros with a pixel of health. But after Tauros begins thrashing around, a final discharge brings down the beast. Bertha then sends out the second Shaman we've seen this run, and this time I'm ready for the grass type by sending out Bromine for super effective damage. I think I have Shaman in the bag, but of course Bertha does one thing that every trainer should be doing and switches out to a dark type Pokemon in Houndoom. This completely nullifies the Psychic I sent out towards Shaman for no damage at all. I bring out Unobtainium, slamming Houndoom down with a Stab Dragon Rush, and Unobtainium stays in until Shaman is defeated with a couple crunches. 2 down, 2 to go, then a champion. Flint begins with sending out an Unknown, but after the first encounter with the Unknown, I'm a little bit worried of its hidden power. A Tri-Attack though from Cobalt completely obliterates it before it even has a chance. Tri-Attack then takes out the Chinling in one hit as well. Grumpig though is a different story. It tanks 2 Signal Beams from Cobalt, but unfortunately, due to Grumpig's Psychics getting the best of Cobalt, I'm forced to switch out, not taking any risk that the AI will not heal this turn. Unobtainium hits the field after Flint uses a full restore on Grumpig, but after 2 big crunches bring down the Psychic Pig, and a 3rd crunch brings down Xatu, and Flint's final Pokemon is a Scourge of the Pokemon Seas, a Magikarp. This beast takes a slash and lives with 1 HP, and I am flabbergasted. Magikarp doesn't even go down to the 2nd slash, but fortunately for the 3rd slash, it finally brings him down. Lucian's the final member of the Elite Four, and he sends out a Huntail as his first Pokemon. Cobalt one-shots it with a super effective discharge, and Lombre then eats a discharge but falls to a Tri-Attack. A Petal Dance brings Cobalt down to way low of HP for me to keep it in, even though Signal Beam might kill it next turn. So I switch out to Bromine for the quad effective hit with Psychic. She takes a Petal Dance and wipes out the rest of Rosalina's health. I send out Galactic because he needs a little bit of credit for these final fights after all, so I send him out to hit Clefairy with a huge solar beam from the sky. Razor Leaf then knocks out Clefairy after Citrus Berry takes Clefairy out of the full restore range. Now I admit, I'm feeling a little confident in this fight. I haven't lost any Pokemon in the Elite Four, so I decide to have a little fun and throw down a Toxic. I'm just going to sit here and watch Linoon's health fall and just keep on switching out Pokemon. Then I hear the worst sound to come out of a Pokemon, a belly drum. After a Razor Leaf hits, Linoon lives with 1 HP, but luckily, Toxic is able to take it down with poison. This was the final Elite Four member. Now, it's on to Cynthia, the champion of the Sinnoh region. Cynthia, the champion of the Sinnoh region, lays before me and waits for a battle that she has been waiting for since we met all the way back in Eterna City. Team Beatdown stands strong with Bromine, Unobtainium, Cobalt, Gallium, Argon, and our starter Uranium. Nerves fall upon me as I hear her music begin. 6 Pokemon stand before me in the championship. Her first Pokemon she sends out is Galactic, and is immediately shot down with a Tri-Attack from Cobalt. Slugma is out next, and the memes are running wild in my head, but it also falls to a vicious Tri-Attack. Then, one of my worst fears, a high-class AI like Cynthia, she sends out legendary Pokemon. Entei slams down onto the field. Even just one non-crit Fire Fang brings Cobalt down to barely any HP. Cobalt fires off with one Tri-Attack that does just barely over half damage, but also paralyzes Entei. Taking full advantage of the speed drop, I outspeed, and I risk a miss from Tri-Attack, and I shoot another one downrange to defeat the legendary dog. Bronzong is out now for Cynthia, and I switch out to Unobtainium. What Crunch does for neutral damage, both Dragon Rushes I use afterwards, both miss, and I'm now locked in with block. Once Dragon Rush finally hits and it flinches Bronzong, it barely does any damage due to not being very effective. Now after 2 Future Sights have hit me, Unobtainium is down to 7 HP, and I see Cynthia do a devastating move. She uses a full restore on her Bronzong to bring it back to full health. Unobtainium uses 2 final crunches, with one lowering Bronzong's defense, but unfortunately, one final Gyro Ball finally takes down the Land Shark Unobtainium. With a heavy heart, I bring Obtainium back to the Pokeball and send out Argon to finish off Bronzong with a huge Dark Pulse. Cynthia then sends out Wooper as her next Pokemon, and I switch out to Galarium only because Argon is weak to Ground-type moves. Galarium actually is quite effective to this tiny terror, and with one Razor Leaf, it cuts through Wooper like nothing. Cynthia's final Pokemon is an Altaria. I immediately try for a Toxic but miss, but luckily the next Toxic hits, and all I have to do is wait. As the field is doused with rain, I switch to Cobalt for a sacrifice into Uranium, who can hopefully take anything that Altaria throws at it. Altaria then does the unthinkable and cures her poison with Refresh. My Toxic Salt is now out of the picture as Surf hits it for not very effective damage. Unobtainium tanks the Dragon Pulse, and I get a Thunder Wave off, followed by a Discharge, leaving Altaria in the red. Cynthia then uses a full restore, and I continue with the barrage of discharges. But Altaria is left with a sliver of HP, and Uranium, my starter, is finally taken down by Altaria. I finally send out Bromine once again to finish the fight with one final Psychic as she eats a Dragon Pulse from Altaria. And with that, I have become the Sinnoh champion. Cynthia then leads me up the elevator to the Hall of Fame. And we are done with Gen 4. Me as the champion, Cynthia by my side. We are complete. All in all, this is a really good run. I only lost a few Pokemon. I didn't lose a lot. I didn't go up against anything crazy, except at the very beginning. But you know what? I'm beginning to enjoy Sinnoh. Sinnoh, to me, was one of my least favorite generations. But over the past year with playing Diamond Pearl Remake and Arceus, I feel like that Sinnoh has become right there below Johto for me, and right below Hoenn. Can't wait to come back to this generation, to this region, to do another Nuzlocke. And with that, remember everyone, if you like this video, please subscribe, please like, and please leave a comment below. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye everybody.